Let's do it.
Okay. Can you state your name and age, please?
I don't know what name to give you. I've got so many. Elizabeth Fackler.
Okay. Age? Your age?
83, 84.
Okay. When and where were you born?
I was born in Los Angeles, California.
And what
When?
year?
January 12th, 1932.
Then describe your family, your parents, your siblings.
Well, I didn't have any siblings, for better or for worse. So what else did you, what was his second part?
Describe your parents.
Describe my parents. Oh my. Well, my mother was kind of, I don't know how, the only way I'd describe it was that she's kind of a nothing. But that's not to put that down. It's just that she didn't do anything. She did nothing. She was kind of a blob. I don't know if that describes it.
How about your dad?
My dad was very energetic, and he was kind of dynamic in his way, and very intellectual.
What was your schooling like?
My schooling? Well, I loved school. All of it, any part of it. So I loved elementary school, I loved junior high, I loved high school, and I loved college.
What did you study in college?
I studied theater arts and dance.
What made you get into dancing?
Oh, this is kind of interesting. I think. I was 16, and I had a boyfriend who could dance. And he taught me how to jitterbug, which was a rave those days. And I thought, this is more fun than I've ever had. So I talked my mother into, and it was very difficult to talk my mother into anything. But I talked her into letting me go to Villas in Yolanda, which was the place to take dancing in those days. This was before Arthur Murray, and I don't know who's into that now. They even have ballroom dance teachers, professional ones. But everybody would know who Arthur Murray was, I'm sure. But anyway, over her objections, she wasn't happy about it. But I got to take lessons at Bellas in Yolanda. And I thought I died and gone to heaven. And so then, when I went to college, I minored in dance. And it was a different kind of dance altogether. It was modern dance, which was expressionistic, so you learned to use you had to use every part of your body to express all kinds of stuff. Like sadness and gladness and whatever. And so I really loved that too. But that was difficult to do. I mean, you have to kind of do modern dance correctly. You have to kind of almost give up everything else in your life. I wasn't willing to do that. When I majored in theater arts, I majored in backstage stuff, working with sets, working with lights. So then, thank you. Probably won't do any good. It's okay. So then, there was a little theater in in Los Angeles. It was a dance theater, and it was one of the famous, a somewhat famous modern dancer there who had a little studio. And so I was bold enough to go and ask him if he needed somebody to do his lighting, and if I could join his, if I did that for him, would he let me join his classes for free? And so I got to do my lighting and my dance there. And that was fun. Somebody that I knew, happened to be a boyfriend, said, why don't you go to, there's a pretty good school of business here in Los Angeles, and I think, he says, I think they've got some classes about how to do business stuff in the entertainment industry. Since I wasn't getting any place with the dancing, I thought that would be fun. So the place was called Woodbury College. It was a 2-year thing. And so I majored in, it was actually learning how to do different, there were business courses, how to do business, how to translate the business into the regular business into the entertainment business. Okay.
Good enough.
So that's how I got to be a secretary at Desilu Studios. And they were pretty famous. So that's when I started meeting some famous people.
So for the younger generation, what were some of the shows that Desilu Studios did?
I Love Lucy, because it was Lucille Ball's studio.
What was Grandpa, your dad's occupation?
He was a psychoanalyst trained by Freud.
And so he met Sigmund Freud and knew Sigmund Freud?
Yeah, he would very, very well. I should say Sigmund Freud knew my dad very, very well.
And so, how did he help people with that, with his occupation, with being a psychologist?
That was his livelihood. So he would just go, and all that stuff was very hush hush, because you couldn't. It was very private. But patients, he didn't divulge what was going on there, so I didn't get to know too much about that. And so he just went to work psychoanalyzing his patients.
And so, do you remember meeting any famous celebrities?
He's kind of famous.
Albert Einstein, yeah. Can you tell the story of when he met Grandpa?
Well, yeah, this is kind of funny. But I don't know whether they get it or not. But
just tell.
Yeah, he met Einstein at this club that my dad belonged to, and they were introduced and asked what was my dad's occupation, and he said, I'm a psychoanalyst. And Einstein said, oh, Jewish science. I don't know how many people would get it, but...
And anybody else? How about, I don't remember his name, you told me the story about how your dad and this actor were playing tennis.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he played tennis with Cornell Wilde. And my dad was a recreational tennis player, and he had different people he'd play with. And he was playing with Cornell Wilde, and I thought Cornell Wild was pretty cute. So I asked my dad if I could go watch. And he said, sure. So I'd go with my dad and sit on the bench and watch them play. And I had hurt my finger with some craft project, and I had it bandaged, and it wasn't doing very well. And the bandage was coming off, and we were talking about it, and Cornell Wild said, oh, here, I can fix it for you. So he bandaged it up. I used to have a scar there. It doesn't, it's disappeared with age. But I used to say this was the place where that Cornell Wild bandaged for me. Being on the West Coast, the only thing that, see, we were closer to the Japanese front, but there's a whole ocean away. But there were some couple of airplane things that happened. We had the siren that would go off to say that there was going to be an air raid, but we knew there wasn't. This one time, there was something I never did get. There was a strange airplane, I guess, in the sky, and then the sirens went off, and then we just had to make sure that we didn't have any lights on that could show. We had blackout curtains, and that was the only time we ever used them, I think, just that one incident. But my dad was an air raid warden, and these were civilian guys who weren't in the army or anything, and they, during air raid practice, they had to go out and patrol a couple of blocks. So he would do that. He'd put on his little hat, helmet, take his flashlight, and out he would go. And I don't know, it was never very scary.
Did you and your friends ever talk about World War II or anything that was going on?
No.
Just didn't really worry about it?
No. I didn't. I mean, I guess there were mostly adults worried about it, I
What
guess.
has been the most memorable moment in your life?
Oh, jeez. Well, anytime I got to dance, were memorable. The first time, I was still taking lessons at Villas Yolanda and learning things like tango and cha-cha and rumba and all the things that you guys don't care about anymore. And there was this guy who he was Spanish, or I guess he must have been Mexican, and he could do all those dances. And so they were having a talent show at high school, and we had a big auditorium there, and a lot of people would come, and I don't know whether it was, I forget who all came.
What high school is it?
Los Angeles High School. And so this guy and I choreographed a tango routine. This is my first really dance performance that I ever did. And so that was pretty memorable. That was my first memorable thing I could think of. And we did the tango, which is my favorite dance in all this world.
Do you, what is the most proudest moment in your life?
Proudest moment. One of them was when, the proudest moments have to do with my kids.
Which are Scott, the oldest, and my mom, Sandy, and Sarah, who are twins.
Mm-hmm. There are a couple times that I think when when Sarah played her violin at a recital, I was pretty proud then. And she played a couple times, I think. I guess most memorable was Rumpelstiltskin. And so much he has, you wouldn't believe the acting talent that guy has. The teacher there wanted him to go on with it, go audition for movies and stuff like that. And this is just for fun. And after it was over with, he never. I said, "Well, aren't you going to ever go back to your acting?" And no. He had so much fun with it. I wish I could have videos of those times.
Do you have any advice for the youth today?
Advice for youth today. Whether it be something serious or fun or whatever it is, to always be there for it. And don't get distracted. I guess it's don't get distracted. Like,
Be in the moment, kind of.
yeah, well, like for instance, say you were going to do a play or whatever, and something's happening over here that's not so great, like somebody's fighting or something. Just don't worry about it. Just go ahead and do what you need to do. Do what you need to do. What you feel you need to do, not what she needs to do or I need to do.
Yeah. Do you have anything you would like to add to this interview at all?
Yeah, I think I do. I know exactly how to do it. I was an only child, and I hated it. Absolutely hated it. And I said, I'm going to have more kids than just one. So I planned it out, and I was going to have 2 kids, close together. So as soon as one was born, okay, I'll make time, I'll figure out when I'm going to want to have the next one. The next one came out twins. So now I had 3 kids all close together in age. And that worked out exactly the way I planned it. I think that was one of the high points of my life, to have that plan come out right. Really, really right, because everybody got along so well, and nobody was really badly in trouble. They all kind of took care of each other. And it's kind of like I would have liked to have had my childhood like that, which I didn't. And I was pretty much involved, so they didn't have a parent that was kind of aloof like I had. And so I guess what I was about was, let's do everything the opposite of what my parents did. And that's it. What was the question?
Do you have anything else you'd like to add to the interview?
Well, yeah, I'd like to say that I'm just very grateful that I had kids that didn't get in trouble, so to speak. I can think about potatoes in the
Potatoes in the exhaust pipe?
Yeah. And tree branches across the window. So I'm just lucky, and I'm very grateful. I could just say that I'm very, very grateful. Now it all worked out.